probably saving a couple hours. And you're getting better customer service, which probably leads to more closures for you.
Hey guys, welcome to the Way podcast. And I just want to say that we've hit a milestone. It's been just a little over a year, and I'm super excited because we've had all sorts of different people on and big, huge producers, big leaders in our industry. And today, I actually have somebody who's not even in our industry, but he's an AI scientist. There's this rap sheet is like so long. I'm not going to read it, but we're going to talk about it here in the show. But the dude's super smart. Like, he's wicked smart. He understands AI, machine learning. He's been doing this for 10 years. And I love this one. It's how to amplify human AI impact. So you're going to find out what that means too, because I didn't actually know what it meant. You're going to find out that it's going to talk a little bit about personal brand. He's going to talk about the importance of recording all of your conversations with your clients, and then how to set up a template and have automation of, this is the follow-up, this is the calendar invite or the calendar reminders, this is the cadence you need to have. There's so many things you can do to simplify your life and just have it be on autopilot. So I hope you guys enjoy the show. Hey Ben, welcome to the show.
How are you doing today, Dino?
I'm doing great, thank you. So I got to tell you, Ben, everybody loves talking about AI. I love talking about it. I've talked to a bunch of guys in this mortgage industry that love talking about it. And I would even say that I'm pretty darn good at it now. And I have some friends. We actually have this little AI fight club, we call ourselves. But then when I read your resume, I am like thinking to myself, we are absolute kindergartners in this AI space. So I am super excited to talk to you because you actually have like this pedigree in AI, which I don't know how far back that goes, because I know AI has been around. It's just called like machine learning, I think, right? Like, it's
Data science, exactly.
But it's just so much more now. So dude, if you don't mind, I just want to get into it because I have a ton of questions I want to ask you. And I think you're not in the mortgage business, so you're actually the first person on this podcast that hasn't been in the mortgage business. But I want to figure out how to take your experience, your knowledge, and then relate it back so that our listeners can say, light bulb moment, maybe I should try doing this, right? Like, so ultimately, I want to give the listeners actionable steps on how to make their life a little bit easier, how to get better at doing things, and how to get quicker at doing things. So with that said, I was gonna like introduce you, but then I was like, I can't. There's just too many things to memorize. So instead of me reading it, tell us who you are, man.
So I'm Ben Tasker. I'm an AI and workforce transformation expert. I specialize in leading people through this turbulent, what I call AI between times. I make individuals and organizations more AI enabled.
Well, I got to tell you, this thing that I just read is a little more impressive than that. I'm going to read it because you obviously are humble. Previously, you were the Dean of AI at Southern New Hampshire University, where you launched applied AI certification supporting over 225,000 learners. Ben has also taught at Northeastern University, Curry College, one of the top colleges for AI and computer science. So I am just going to read it. Earlier in his career, Ben served as project manager at Northeastern's Experimental AI Institute, leading AI solutions designs and teams to help amplify human AI impact, which I really want to dig into and find out what that means. As a data scientist at Maine Health, he developed predictive AI diagnostic tools that directly improved patient outcomes and saved lives. And then there's more, but let's just kind of stop right there because that is a lot more than what myself and my buddies are doing, like diving into AI, right? Like creating things and doing stuff. You're doing it at a much higher level. So let's start with, what does human AI impact mean?
Human AI impact is when AI can help amplify human beings. So, for example, some of the projects that I've worked on involve in the healthcare setting, there's what's called patient monitors. And those patient monitors collect live dynamic data, and you can collect that data and create early alert systems based upon the patients that are connected to them. So it's not really like a clinical triage tool. It's more of like the clinical team will get a page on their phone like, oh, Johnny's blood pressure is beginning to dip by a couple points. He could have an infection. You might want to go check that out eventually, instead of reacting to it after it's already occurred, is just one example of human AI impact. Another example of it is in a large school setting. Think about like massive online colleges taking algorithms to make sure students are successful. So if they haven't logged in a long time, if they're not doing well in their courses, maybe they're in the wrong program, deploying resources so that eventually they can become successful. The resources could be extra tutoring, it could be changing the course, the professor, whatever the the remediation may be.
Got it. Okay. And to the normal person, AI has become a huge buzzword in the last, let's call it year, maybe 2 years for the people that were a little more ahead of their time. And then there was machine learning, which is really, it's still all the same thing, but nobody ever calls it machine learning. It's probably just not as sexy sounding as AI. But how long have you been doing it?
It depends when you wanna consider what at least 10 years, at least 10 years. So, my own journey was an upskilling journey. I graduated from my undergraduate degree, I thought I wanted to become a healthcare administrator. I went into a hospital, and one of my first tasks was to observe patient volumes at different clinical care offices, and this is another example of a human impact project, and that what ultimately that means is that they might shift around some of the practices based upon the volume. I thought, "Oh, no problem. I can just go get the data. We can make some simple charts and graphs." And what I learned was sometimes the data didn't exist. Sometimes it was still on paper, and this was not that long ago. It was on paper, not in a database. So I had to physically go and talk to the clinical teams and really develop those human skills so that we could gather the data. Some of the clinical teams actually didn't really want to share the data because they knew of some of these projects going on. And that's when it really clicked to me that data is important, data-driven decision making is important. And around that same time, data science master's programs were starting to emerge. And I already had the business background, getting an MBA. I'm more innovative. I like playing with things. I really love the data. And I was like, why not do data science? It combines all the stuff I like. And that's where I got to learn about the AI algorithms that I apply today.
Yeah, I love it. So I got to say, I'm a data geek. Um, but I'll tell you where my biggest frustration is the lack of data. So to specifically speak to the mortgage industry, um, there are maybe some of the bigger companies that have more data and they're able to do stuff, but it drives me crazy that a typical loan officer slash mortgage advisor, they really don't maintain data the way they should. And therefore, I would say it's impossible to even analyze it properly when you don't have enough of it, right? So, for example, um, how many referrals did I get from that real estate agent? And how many referrals did I get from that financial planner and that attorney and all that? And man, I got so many more from that real estate agent that's absolutely my highest and best use. I'm making the most money, right? But the reality is it really? Meaning, how many people did they refer you? How many people did you call? Or how many of those referrals did you actually have a call with? How many resources were allocated to it? How much time did you spend on it? How much money did you spend on it pre-qualifying people? Because there is a cost associated to that. And then ultimately, what was the either the uh, dollar made per hour or the dollar lost because of all that you were doing. So then we could take another sector like the financial planner, maybe
You are kidding. You really do love the data. No, just kidding. Keep going.
well, it drives me crazy because we just assume a lot of things, right? But when you have all of that, and then you have the other data, and maybe you get less referrals, but everyone closes, you got to kind of ask yourself, which one did you make the most money on? And people don't realize that, like they don't dig enough into the data. So for me,
Well, it's hard to set up too, right? Like everything, like that's not super complex, but you still got to put the time in to do it, right?
That's the problem. You gotta put the time into it, and I think for the most part, even a lot of the bigger companies, the loan officers are very solopreneurs, meaning they function off their cell phone, still. They don't properly use a CRM. They don't properly take the time to, to notate everything that happened the right way. And then even when they do, there is no proper, data driven analysis afterwards to really determine the value of it. So I I I am on a mission at Ethos, and I'm going to just say it out loud. I've already failed several times, which drives me insane. I hate that, but as they say, every time you fail, you get one step closer to succeeding. So I've failed multiple times, and the reason why is because we use so many different systems that it's hard to like round them all up and then pull from each one. I'm hoping now with all the AI stuff out there that it will get a little bit easier and maybe even doable for once. But that's my mission right now is to pull all of this data, have AI analyze it all, and be able to spit back real answers and hopefully even real time to really really make a proper diagnosis of what the next good step should be.
So, first of all, AI, just like you, loves data. Everything that you just explained for a minimal subscription to any AI platform or maybe the top 3 AI platforms can help a lot of mortgage brokers like yourself become more data driven, collect data, create a mini customer service management system. Uh, it's all right there. You just have to properly label things and use the technology in front of you. So, for example, with an iPhone, I'm an iPhone user, and I know Google's Pixel also has this option. But when you make a phone call, in the top left, there's 3 dots. You can click those 3 dots, click record and transcribe once you have permission to do that. The full call, since you're already in the call, your name will be printed, and assuming you announce the other person's name, that will be printed so that the transcript's very easy to use. It will record the whole call. You can then copy that transcript, it goes right to your notes. So now you don't have to type anything. You can label that file in your notes, onboarding call with Ben Tasker, first time home buyer, X area, or whatever the call was about. You have that, then you click the 3 dots again. You can copy the transcript, or you could just put the file in, but you can copy the transcript, open your favorite AI tool, you start a project. Assuming you've already have a prompt set up and you have the project going, you can put in the transcript and it will fill out your customer service template. Some of the things on the customer service template will be the person's name, contact information, the date you contacted them, what you chatted about, follow-up items. It can even draft emails to follow up with, help you with uh, setting the reminders. So you'll still have to program them or put them in your phone, but you can just copy paste them. But that's all at your fingertips now. I tried it before we had this call, and it took 15 minutes to do all that. I am not a mortgage broker. I don't know how long that would take without AI, but from a 6-minute phone call to all the steps I just described, 15 minutes total.
Love it. I'm glad you brought that up. So it's a pet peeve of mine. I mean, I've stopped working on my cell phone a long time ago, but pretty much every loan officer I know works on their cell phone, and they don't capture any of that stuff, right? And I, I get it. Sometimes recording a phone call, it's kind of weird, whatever, but all you really need is the transcript. You don't need the actual, anything. And then I love what you said, like it took 15 minutes. So I I believe you should schedule 10 to 15 minutes after each and every phone call you have just to properly label it, set reminders, put in everything you need, and then it's just done after that. And these transcripts, I mean, I actually so I use a platform called Rome, It's like a virtual headquarters for ethos lending, and they just rolled out a new deal that which I love, right? So I tried just staying off the phone now. I tried doing everything on virtual. If I get the video, great. If not, it's still being recorded through there. And they just actually let us set up these templates. So if I'm doing an initial consultation, I can set up one template for a buyer, right? If I'm doing a interview to hire a loan officer, I can set up another one. And like I focus on recruiting, and I started playing with it. And what I did my first one yesterday. I set up the template. So it tells me like the scenario or the synopsis of who the person is, what they're looking for. And then I have another little piece down below that says like what their pain points are at their current, in their current environment. I have another one just below that that says what they're looking for, and what their like dreams and goals are. And then I have the bottom one that says analyze their disc profile and give me a confidence score with it. And then I had my first one yesterday after I set up that template, and it was so cool, man. It was like so cool to like have it broken out for me exactly how I wanted. And I I what I did is I focused solely on my conversation. I didn't have to take any notes. I didn't have to worry about anything. And this is the point I think what I'm so excited about. If loan officers can start doing this, anybody, everything, and start trusting the system, you can spend more time actually connecting with somebody and trying to have a more meaningful conversation. And then what I love about it, if you take a minute to go through the transcript afterwards and break it up like this and actually ask it questions and get some feedback and boom, 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 you will learn for your next conversation of what you didn't ask, and you'll start having a better conversation with people because you're no longer taking notes, but it's there. And if you don't ask it, it won't know it, right? So start asking better questions, start asking more, and stop worrying about trying to write it all down. I'm talking about a loan officer perspective, right? Like, oh, where do you work, how much do you make? It's like, ask those questions, it's fine, but ask it in a more conversational way now, as opposed to a loan application being taken, right? Like, so much better. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure that mortgage brokers also have their own document process. So even on these onboarding calls, you can be more interpersonal. You can get to know the person. It's not so much about getting every little detail. You could even send them the document, they fill it in, and then you easily digest it, right? And you're going to probably have to do that anyways. And that fills in your other templates. So by thinking about this at scale, right, this process might take you longer in the beginning, but throughout it, you're probably saving, I don't know how long it takes for the complete process, but probably a couple hours. And you're getting better customer service, which probably leads to more closures for you.
100%. Um, all right, I got to figure out how to phrase this question to you. Um, I am going to make a comment because I think that'll be the question, and then you can answer. When I started going deep into trying to learn AI to be more than a glorified Google and really spending time with it, I, I, my wife noticed how much effort I was putting into this, and instead of being like, "You're such an awesome husband, and I love your tenacity on wanting to learn and blah 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 blah," instead she was like, why don't you just ask your girlfriend? Or she would say little comments, and she was getting sick of hearing me talk to the computer or my phone the whole time. And and then I got kind of excited and I started trying to teach my 13-year-old a new way of studying for his science exam that he was struggling with. And I'm like, hey, let me teach you a brand new way of doing it. And I basically taught him how to put it in Notebook LM and upload all of your questions and answers, upload, a couple other things, and then, watch this video because he's trying to look at a book and he's not getting it. So upload it, boom. And for all you guys, let me back up. For all you guys listening right now, if you don't know what Notebook LM is, it's a Google product, and if you have Google, you have Notebook LM, and it's one of the coolest things. I literally took pictures from this textbook, I uploaded them there, and then I even put in just a little thing of, this is my eighth grade, son. He's trying to study for this test. He's struggling with it. Help him to come up with a better way, right? So it is something like that. And then if there's YouTube videos or if there's websites, you can put those in as well. And then this AI agent just creates, and this is what it did. It created a 10-minute video explaining everything that was on his new test in an environment these days where kids watch YouTube like it's going out of style. They actually learn from watching videos. Well, you know, science teacher doesn't teach with videos. They just have this textbook and a few, it's just not the same. And then it was super cool because it creates a podcast of two people talking back and forth, explaining.
I knew you were gonna bring up the podcast feature. It's fun.
Yeah, I mean, and it's explaining how the duck can be in moving water with swells and all that, but yet not moving with the swells, right? And the current underneath and all this stuff. And then I was like, "Watch, son." And I hit the button on the podcast while they were talking, and then you have these two AI people saying, "Oh, hold on, we got a question from the listener," and I'm like, I still don't understand why the duck doesn't move along with the swells. And great question. Let me explain it again. And it just goes right into it. I was like, this is amazing, right? So
That's 3, maybe 4 types of learning too, right? I know you were building this for your son, but your son could do it eventually, right? So that's one type. Second type's the video, third type's listening, and then you kinda have to confirm if it's true or not, which is a higher form of thinking. You might not be able to do that when you're first learning, but right, like, you have to validate it a little bit, right?
and then it created flashcards. And he was actually just like loving it. He was so enthralled with the whole thing that he really took to it. And he wanted to make sure he got the flashcard right, right? To him, it just
Make it a game.
make it a game. So I, that I went into a pretty big story there, but my question was, my wife saw all this, and her being her little conservative Midwestern girl nature said, "This is the devil, and you're not doing the kids any justice. You're teaching them to just be solely dependent on." This machine, which, if Christian terms, right? The machine is the devil. And I'm like, it's not, babe. I'm like, it's not the devil. In fact, if anything, I think it's God saying, let me help make your life a lot easier so that you can actually have more time to spend with people again, more time to spend with your wife, more time to spend with your kids, more time to like enjoy breaking bread with friends and not being so like tied to every little thing that's happening over here. Right. So I guess my question to you is AI the devil or God? That's a
Ooh.
weird way of asking it. You know what I mean, though?
I do know what you I do know what you mean. This is a fun question. So, my fiancé actually kinda had a similar conversation with me because I thought it was so cool to create you can do movies, you can it was so fun for me, and I'm not super, like, artistic, but to be able to go make a movie that I would never be able to produce myself, it's really cool to me. So yeah, similar conversation. And she's also a psychiatrist, so she's seen some impacts of AI from a patient perspective that I maybe don't consider when I'm doing some of the cool stuff. Uh, I think with trade-offs, like for learning, you can obviously get some time back for a mortgage broker business. Obviously, no brainer. Why would you not make your life more simple? But then there's other cases where I've heard people having or trying to have physical relationships with AI, like it's a partner. They overuse it for empathy, like it gets so personalized. It's actually not treating them for anything. It's just telling one enforcing bad behaviors essentially. Uh, so you have to know when not to use the technology, but think about other digital tools, internet, social media. Those had some negative impact, especially on children. If you can pull them out of that and they're learning about ducks, right? Like maybe better, maybe better. So I think it's mostly good to answer your question. Mostly good.
I agree. I think obviously there's anybody can find bad in anything, right? It's just how you're going to use it and all that. But I guess where my thought process is, my goal is to do 12 hours worth of work in 6 to 8 hours. Like that's my personal goal. And no longer have to put in the long hours at the office, no longer have to like stress out over everything later. Even, when you're in sales, in our my world, it's not banking hours. Banking hours is when you work at a bank and everything shuts down and nobody cares after it shuts down, right? In my world, you don't get a check until the deal closes. So everybody on my side cares. Doesn't matter what time of day it is, they care. And I just think that with proper AI use and setup, you can have full coverage all the time, even when you're sleeping. I don't know exactly how yet, but I do believe that the majority of the little things that happen after hours can be taken care of through AI. So that's my big goal, and that's where I hope that it goes with everybody. Now, of course, if somebody wants to be a workaholic, they're gonna take 12 hours and shove really like a 20-hour day into 12 hours. So be it, if that's what they want to do, right? Like I guess in my old age, I'm trying to get to the less hours instead of more hours piece.
Yeah, so AI can definitely unlock those opportunities. I think it's also like you have to understand the risk too. So bringing it back to the customer management system. So the next step in that is creating a project. So most AI tools have a project category where you can have different folders. For you, it could be the different templates that you're using. They'll have what's called system prompts. It's a series of steps that the AI will follow once you load your transcript into those files. Now, the AI tools themselves can't compose like, they can compose the email, but they're not attached to your email, so they won't send the email, and they can't schedule your calendar invites, but you can connect them to applications like NAN, Zapier, that do have access to that information and can do that for you off hours if you want to have it done off hours. But you also still have to check it. So maybe instead of having it fully compose the email, saving it to your drafts and then checking it to make sure that it's accurate and it actually matches the transcript. Because sometimes I've had it where it totally screws it all up and it's not anything I would, would want to say. Or it schedules the calendar invite for the wrong day and I miss something by a whole day because it's AI, right? It's not perfect yet. So there's still some intervention there, but yeah, you can auto, and those are very simple things for someone, right? Like probably scheduling could be a couple hours of your day if you don't have an admin, or if you do have an admin, more help the merrier, right? Social media, for example, too, it can help you create posts. It can design images for the post. It can suggest where to post them. It can give you the words to put in it, but you still wanna make sure that it's right and it's structured correctly because AI, again, is a recommendation system, so it's recommending something that it thinks you wanna see. It doesn't necessarily mean that you wanna see it. I actually just tried asking AI to give me a random number 1 through 10, and I've tried it 100 times, and most times either giving me a 7 and then a very small amount of times giving me a 3. So it's even though we say it's non-deterministic, it does have some determination in there. It's a magic trick. Try it. I bet you will get a 7 or a 3 if you ask it to give you a random number 1 through 10.
So interesting. I'm gonna do it right now. Let's
Let's
just
see.
see
Let's
real
see.
quick.
Let's test it.
Yeah. Can you give me a random number between 1 and 10? It's thinking. Hold on. Well, I don't know if my internet's going bad or what. Let's try this again. Can you give me a random number between 1 and 10?
I'm gonna try it too.
I'm going with a bold and optimistic 7. Lucky enough
I
to keep things
didn't need to
exciting,
try
but
it.
not too high to scare anyone off.
Okay, let's try this again. I want you to give me another random number between 1 and 10.
All right, let's shake it up. This time it's a 3. A little underdog number, but it's got potential.
All right, there you go.
So non-deterministic, I mean, that's a pretty impressive magic trick, but why does AI do that? It's because it takes all the written information, Reddit, social media posts, whatever the case may be that it web scrape, and those are the most randomly selected numbers in that range. So it doesn't actually calculate anything. It just gives you the number that it thinks thinks you're going to pick, right? Like it's not even random.
I try a little test real quick. Hey, just for fun, pick a random number between 1 and 10. Period. I'll tell you why when I get home. I sent it to my 13-year-old. I want to see what he chooses.
Fun though, right? Yeah. People are like, how'd you guess? How'd you know it was going to do that?
That's so funny. All right, so let's. I want to go to another question. Platforms. There's Chat. There's Gemini. Perplexity. I don't. There's. I'm sure more.
Claude.
My son chose 5, by the way. So let's talk about platforms for a minute. What are your thoughts, Claude? What are your thoughts on which one, and what are your, I guess, top reasons why, and then also frustrations with them?
So ChatGPT opened first, full disclosure, pretty much the second it launched, I was in there. I saw the potential of it. Once you're in, it's kind of hard to get out. It's a preference in that sense. It knows me. It knows me really well, and I have all my projects in there. Gemini is also really good. It's connected to more of the Google suite. They also have what's called Google Gems. It can make basic applications for you with a prompt. Super fun. You can mess around with that for hours. Claude Claude is considered, at least right now, one of the more intelligent artificial intelligence. Usually it's 2% higher because of how they do their modeling technique. It's great for coding. As a data scientist, Claude Code is has saved me literally hours, and in some cases does the work better than I would do it. It's very, very impressive. So in that case, I kind of think it depends on what you want with the features. I think some of the trade-offs are knowing what you want to do and which tool to use. Think about it like a skill, right? Like, oh, Claude's really good at coding. I can kind of relate to that. I already have it set up. Maybe I'll use Claude for that one. For the customer service management system, I went into GPT first, then I tried it in Gemini just to see if I would get a similar result. But I have my GPT already set up, so that was kind of why I went in that direction. The frustrations with it is GPT now knows me so well that I have to change my profile information so it's not as personalized, or gives me the same responses every time. And you can just kind of tell that. And I'm sure the other tools will do that with overuse as well. But the way you can tell that is that everything kind of just reads and sounds the same. So it's time to switch it up. With Claude and Claude Code, you kind of have to check it against something else. So I actually check it against GPT's codex to see if the output is correct, quote unquote correct. So using them against each other sometimes helps.
Sure. So I'm with you. I use Chat because I've got so many hours into it that I can't even fathom the idea of switching. But I will say, I switched my company's entire platform from Microsoft over to Google because of everything happening in AI and because of all the products Google has, and yet I still haven't switched over. I use Gemini to like polish my emails all the time, and it's great. Saves me a ton of time. But the other day, I did the whole transcript thing after a call. And then I tried to get Chat to, and I got frustrated because I'm like, great, set up a calendar reminder for me, to follow up on this day after it told me to do that. And it's like, oh, I can't quite do that for you just yet. I'm like, why? Because you asked me to connect my Google Drive. Like, why can't you do it? And it drove me nuts, right? So then I just went over to Gemini and I'm like, hey, set up a calendar reminder for me. It's like, no problem. And it just did it. So I started thinking about it. I'm like, am I being a fool? Should I just get started before I have any more hours into it and can't switch, right? Like, and then I kind of wonder. So here's my question to you. And I think I know the answer because you're doing the exact same thing. you're so entrenched you won't move. Which, by the way, your fiance should be super happy about that. Like that, chances are you'll never leave her, which is great. But I'm wondering if there's a way for me to take what I've done in Chat and capture it somehow and then upload it to give Gemini a head start on who I am and everything I stand for and all my values and all my core beliefs and everything that I've done, all the countless hours. With as smart as AI is now, I mean, it's way smarter now than it was 6 months ago. Can't I fast track it and not really lose all of that? And is there a way?
I will answer the question, Dino, but do you want to do that? Because then you're also carrying over the biases, right? Or potential biases. Maybe carry over some of the processes, right? Like your customer service management or something like that. But I don't know. Would I want to convert everything over? Some of the stuff I do in there is just for fun. I think it's important, but I don't know. It's kind of like stuff in my house is probably not that important. Um, to,
Point. I'm thinking that if it can add things to my calendar for me,
yeah, and your team, right?
positive thing. And what?
And your team, right? Like you're thinking of right scalability. I mean, if that's the feature for you that's worth it, then you could convert that all over and that would be you'd take your system prompt. I'm assuming you have all your transcripts. You can put that over there. You would set it up the same exact way. Gemini doesn't really have projects though, so they would be individual chats. Um, you can yes, you can use the gems, but not this. It's similar but different. It can build an application for you that does something similar. But do you need an application? I'm not sure.
I guess I feel like I was being a fool because I was like, oh, Google's missing the boat. Google's this. And then all of a sudden Google is not only, stepping it up big with Gemini. I didn't like it at first all that much, right? Compared to chat, but it does seem to be doing pretty good now. But then when I dug into like Google Labs and all of the and Notebook LM and
VO3, VO. I mean, VO is great for videos. I mean, I think it's superior.
it's awesome, right? Like all under one platform. And I can't help but wonder, would all of that make my life so much easier in the near future? Or should I just chill out and wait because another 3 or 6 months, who knows what's going to be there?
They're missing out, right? So you can use your other AI tools. You can connect them to tools like NAN, Zapier. You can get all the same functionality. Yes, it's a little bit more expensive, but if you have everything set up, the time it takes to unset it up and put it somewhere else and try to get similar results, right? Right? So they're all work around with that. I have access to all 3 tools, so I use them interchangeably. So I have all 3 of the main tools. So I have Claude, I have Gemini, and I have GPT. And like I was explaining before, I use them a little bit differently. Depends on the task. But I don't think folks should be afraid of moving out or moving in. I think folks should be afraid of actually not using it.
Yeah. Okay, so let's give some advice right now, and let's give it to loan officers. They know about it. They think they know it because they use it to ask some questions or write a couple things, but they don't, they don't have a clue to the depth of the capabilities. But they really need to before they fall so far behind. What is the first step? How do you start crawling before you start walking and then running? How would we give somebody advice to jump on this bandwagon?
I started so I knew the capability, so I can't say I didn't know, but I didn't know the full capability in which I'm seeing now, and it gets better over time. I was using it for fun and hobbies. I started using AI to plan my workouts. I would take photos of my workout equipment and then have it plan me a workout that I should suggest I should do or my meal plan. It got me to trust it. It got me to try. I'm like, can I trust this? I don't know. I was really apprehensive, but if it's a workout, so you can't. I'm going to do this anyways, and I don't. It reduces cognitive load, so why not have the AI try to plan it? Um, Meal plans, I can then link the meal to the workout, maybe get better results. That was fun. After that, how can I use this for work? And then I started thinking about the skills. So coding is a skill, not just like data science, but actual coding, which is a little bit different because you have to be able to do different codes and different code stacks for that. Um, how to interact with people. Now that's a weird one, but you can, like you were doing, chat with any of the tools, and over time it can give you feedback. It can help you prepare for an interview. You can just talk to it if you want to while you're driving. It sounds weird, but sometimes that's nice to do if you get bored. So it's thinking outside of the box a little bit, and then as you get more comfortable, maybe putting in your business and whatever else in your life that you wanna include. Learning doesn't have to be academic, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like, you don't have to go take a PhD level course to learn this stuff. You can get as much or little as you want out of it.
Yeah. And I think I would say that if somebody doesn't know, they should probably start making an effort to go to whether it's Chat or Gemini or whatever, um, instead of Google, just to ask a simple question, right? Maybe that's a good way to start. Now you're just glorify Google user because you're getting a little bit more out of it. But then I would say switch to something fun. I love like your idea of like the workout. Just take a picture of your gym, or if you have a home gym or something. The other thing, and I've never actually done it, but somebody said, "Oh yeah, I just took a picture of my refrigerator, opened the doors, took a picture, and asked it to prepare a meal for me, to give me a recipe." And with everything I have in there, I'm like, man, you can't even see everything in my fridge because it's so stacked with stuff. But kind of a cool piece. Another one was after your meal is done, take a picture of it and ask it to give you the macros if you're into that. As well as like one of the guys was like inflammation guy, like I can't eat anything that has that's gonna give me inflammation, and give me an inflammation score. It said, and he was like, all right, can't eat that, or I need to take this out, and then he started getting into better eating habits because of that. So those are all fun things. But then I would say get into something more fun. And I'm talking work wise now for loan officers. Most loan officers are on social media. So try using it for some social media. Have it write up.
At this point, it knows you now a little bit too, right? So it knows you a little bit. Sorry, keep going.
No, no, but you're right, right? Because it'll start to know you. It'll get to know your personality. Maybe look at and just ask it. Even you can find your local news yourself, or ask it to find the local news and then relate it to something in mortgage so that your clients would show interest in it, right? Something like that, and just see what it does, and then boom, write yourself a little article. Ask it to create a picture, a fun picture, and that's, I think, just a really good way to start, where you can start thinking highly of yourself because you got it to create a picture and you got it to write a little, and then all of a sudden you're like, well, let's try this, and the next thing you know, you're in the 10-foot deep zone, and you're like, oh my gosh, I can do so much more stuff. And I'm going to turn around and say to everybody, make a huge effort to start recording every single interaction you have with clients. There are lots of tools. Ben was just saying, just on your own iPhone, you can hit the little button. You can have tools. You can have Fathom AI. You can have Fireflies. You can have Otter, which is the one I use. And if I have a live conversation, I can still hit the button, and it just records everything and then uploads the transcript. And then analyze. You ask it, analyze it for me. Ask it to predict certain things. Ask it to analyze you, and what could you have done better. And it, like, I did it, and it said you really connected great with the client when they showed fear of whatever. And then a little bit later it said, but you could have talked a little bit, expanded a little bit more upon this, instead of blowing right by it. And I was like, huh, I guess I could have. Right. So my recommendation to everybody is, and this also satisfies my wife's, issue with it, of not becoming, she wanted the kids to become a critical thinker, like on their own. And I said, I'm a much better thinker now than I was 6 months ago, but I don't just read the first paragraph of what it says and be like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. And then, and put it away. I read the whole thing, and I'm like, hey, this isn't exactly true, or the way I would say it. Make sure you update that, or add this and make it a little bit more of this tone so it sounds more like me. Even though it knows me, it still does these things every once in a while, right? So do yourself a favor, read every ounce of whatever it wrote, and then don't be afraid to question it. Don't be afraid to spar with it. In fact, even ask it, spar with me. Give me 5 things that you don't like about, what I just put together or something, right? Let's make it better.
Eh, You can do so much in the tool too. Even with your images, you can click on the images and highlight areas that you don't have to reproduce the whole image. You can just produce parts of an image, and it's different types of prompting techniques. You can ask it to remember specific things, not to remember specific things, and it will try to carry that forward in later conversations or images. It The next level up is then creating a system of prompts so that you can start doing tasks, and sometimes, even though not everybody's gonna need to do this, but trying to create a video. I mean, it doesn't sound as hard as I'm explaining it, but the prompts you need to do for that, if you can create a video that you would actually wanna watch, you can create any tasks in any of the AI tools for your business. It's actually easier to do that, but sometimes for me, I had to do something harder to be able to understand how to break down the system level prompts for each individual task. So by playing, right?
Prompts. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's talk about prompts. I will say that I could get better at prompts. I'm a lot more conversational, and sometimes I wonder if that's a mistake, if maybe I should be a little more concise and get better at prompts. What's your suggestion there?
So going back to the customer service tool, agent potentially, whatever you want to call it. This is the prompt I use, and then I'll explain it. Again, I don't have any mortgage broker experience. I didn't have a template, but you could have that. I pretended like I did. It was able to produce it. But anyways, here it is. This chat's going to be for a mortgage broker customer management system. I'm going to use my phone to record and transcribe client calls with permission. Your task is to create a CMS template from the call transcript. It will help me draft follow-up emails and conversations. So there, I gave a pretty good context of the character it needed to play. AI loves taking on a character. It can be anything in the world, and it really helps narrow down its knowledge so it won't hallucinate. I told it exactly what I was going to do. I didn't drift off. One sentence right there. And then I asked it to design its own template, which it can do because I'm sure other people are doing this. So it knows, okay, mortgage broker, simple task list, that's easy. Um, or I could attach my own too. And then I'm drafting conversations and emails so it can produce that as soon as I put in this transcript. I don't have to re-ask.
Awesome. Um, Another question for you. A friend of mine, and somebody I interviewed on this podcast, he's now a friend. His name is Eric Post. He owns a company called Huzi.ai, Huzi, which, Eric, if you're listening, I love the name. I still love that name, Huzi. Anyway, um, he has something that I struggle with, but I think I understand the importance of it. So I'm trying to kind of force myself to use it. So he has like the regular AI, ChatGPT. You ask it a question, it tells you all normal stuff, and you can choose if you want Gemini or if you want, GPT, or if you want Claude. You can just choose, and it'll answer all in one platform. So that part's pretty cool. But then he has this other you kind of toggle over, and it's called Canvas. And I don't even know if it's open to everybody or not.
I'm on the website. This looks pretty cool. Keep going. Sorry.
So Canvas, you basically start with this blank canvas, and you throw up a like little, we'll call it, ChatGPT window, and you can talk to it. It'll act just like ChatGPT, but or Gemini, whatever, right? But then you can click another button down below, and it'll throw up a YouTube link. You throw in a video from any YouTube video. You just put the link in there, and then basically it'll read everything that's in that video and dump it into the ChatGPT box. And then you can take a book, and put the book over here, and then draw a line into the ChatGPT box. And then you can do like all these different things. So you can even take like let's call it Tony Robbins as a personality or a persona, I think they call it. And now you can ask it to create a social media post, or a blog or whatever based on these three things. And I'm like, I guess you can just write that into chat, but at the same time, if you have a very specific video, and you throw that link in there, and then you throw in the personality of Tony Robbins, and I want it to be very very motivating, and then you throw in this book because it's the values of whatever. And his concept there is that too often, if you try doing all of that in one chat box, it does get a little overwhelmed, and it does start to drift a little bit. And it does start to like kind of come up with its own stuff. Versus if you limit what goes in, then you get better results.
This is also workflow optimization too. Like there's other tools, but by having it all in one place, you don't need a bunch of different stuff. So that's cool too, right?
And then the other day he threw something out that I thought was really interesting too. All on this one canvas, you can have all of that stuff we just talked about. And then you can have like your chat GPT box where everything flows to that and you're creating whatever it is you're trying to create. But then you can have the same three items that we talked about, the YouTube video, the book, and the personality, and then have another box, only now it's your Gemini box. Then you can have another one down below, which is your Claude box. So you can do all three at one time based on the three things that you've connected to it. And then you can have another box that takes the best of the three and now works here. And he said when you try doing all of that, it's just too much, and it gets way too confused, right? And starts to drift and hallucinate and do all sorts of stuff.
That's
But
true.
if you keep breaking it down into these little aspects and then you put it all together at the end, it's very concise as to what goes to the main board.
I'm visual too, so by having all of this visual, you can kind of you actually definitely understand where it's getting that output from, right? Like, because everything's in there. So like, oh, this is a video that I made. It's using the transcript. This isn't quite right. Something's wrong over here. Or this is the book I attached. The summary's too long. We can summarize that a little bit better. So it has direct context without having to look up, find it, and bring it back.
Yeah. I'm I've been working super hard at trying to build the Ethos OS, the operating system. And I've spent countless hours in ChatGPT trying to build this thing. And I've got 28 years of knowledge poured into this operating system. And I'm super excited about it, but I finally got the developer, and I'm like, hey, I'm just gonna give you access to this. You can have everything you want. And I'm like, but I'm gonna give you a head start, right? Like I got it all in modules, and then I'm like, okay, I got the developer. I told ChatGPT, now go ahead and build out each module for me so I can, and I'm like, what about this module? You totally forgot. Like we've talked about this. We spent hours on this. Where is it? And oh, you're right. I totally forgot. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And then all this detail that we went
Scary,
through,
isn't it?
it's scary. And I'm realizing like I spent countless hours and I've had so much detail into this, and now it's not remembering. And now I have to like prompt after prompt to try and dig it back out. But I couldn't help but think, and it's probably my own fault. What I should have done is either created a different project for each module. I don't know, or probably not done so much in one chat, like stopped and then created another chat within the project so that I can really like keep it broken down. But I'm just like floored at what happened, and I was so angry, and I couldn't help but think like this Whozy.ai, this Canvas profile. If I just had all these little modules everywhere with all of my information, now it's all segmented and really detailed in each module. So I think I'm liking the concept of this.
I'm visual. I mean, I can see the benefit of that too, right? Because it's all laid out in front of you. Where the chat thing, right? Like you have to find where you had that information. To your point, you can play around with it, but that takes more time. With everything laid out, you can kind of just rearrange it and run it again.
Yeah. Well, there's my plug for Hoozy. If anybody's interested, I
Looks
think
cool.
you should go and check it out. So Ben, man, I appreciate the conversation. Is there anything else? Um, First of all, is there anything that you are promoting, or I don't know if you do webinars or a book or anything? If you do, tell everybody.
Sure. Thank you, Dino. First off, I hope folks that listen today invest in their personal brand, especially with AI, creating posts, blogs, social media, whatever the case may be, has never been easier. You don't even really have to be that good at it or the social media aspect of it. Creating a personal brand has never been easier. And AI, it was really important to do that with now because AI is a recommendation engine, and the more posts you have out there, assuming they can be web scraped, the better recommendation that the AI can make. So everybody think about that a little bit and how you're going to use AI to help build your personal brand. Secondly, for myself, if you'd like to get in contact with me to build your own AI application, become more AI enabled, your organization, if you need to enable many of your employees, you can find me on bentaskerai.com, or you can connect with me on LinkedIn, Ben Tasker. Thanks for having me, Dino.
So before I do let you go, so let's talk about that, right? That's interesting. I didn't actually know that, but like I said, I'm trying to build out this ethos operating system, um, and I did just hire somebody. But are you for hire for different things like that?
Yeah, if an individual wants to learn how to use AI to become more enabled, like mortgage brokers, or even how to set up this simple system, happy to assist.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us. Thank you for taking the time and just trying to teach us common folk a little extra about AI and how to make our lives better and our business, stronger. So I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me, Dino. Yeah, no problem. This is fun.
And guys, thank you for listening. I really do appreciate it. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but every once in a while, I don't look as often because I just didn't think that it was going to be that big. But somehow this podcast is totally taken off. And I don't know, like a month ago when I looked last, it was top 100 in all of Apple Podcasts. So that was just such a huge little pat on my back, and I'm really proud of that. And I'm really proud of all the guests that I've had because I've had some awesome big name guests on this, and I thank all of you guys first of all, and all of the listeners because you guys are making that possible. So I really appreciate you guys. And if you enjoy what you hear, please do me a favor. Go to the social media, go to YouTube, go to all the places. Make sure you like it. Leave a comment on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you are. Leave a review. That also helps a lot. So thank you guys. Love you. We'll see you next time.